Welcome to United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick. We are convening on Monday. It's been another bad weekend for Manchester United. Well, Manchester United men, anyway. Good weekend for Manchester United women. We will mention both of these things on this podcast. Jamie, you've not been on the last pod, or not been on a couple, actually. Look, let's just start with how are you feeling at the moment about Manchester United Football Club?
Pretty low, to be honest. I think regular listeners will know. I've been of the opinion that I'm just not having the manager anymore anyway. But I've tried to give it a chance this season with all the new players and the new structure and things like that. But yeah, it's just pretty low because it's just the same thing week to week to week. You're not really seeing any real signs of improvement. I suppose we'll just get into all of it really, but yeah, just pretty low at the moment.
Difficult not to be really, and look, on the last pod we were talking about a win. We had beaten Chelsea. Ed and Imran, neither of them were confident we were going to continue that winning run. I was hopeful we would. Mostly because I thought Brentford weren't very good. Not because I had any huge faith in our own team. But I was like, we won. We've got a pretty decent squad. Brentford away, surely that's about as good a chance as you're going to get 2 wins in a row, which Rueben Amorim still has not managed to do, which is crazy. We're getting towards 1 year of Rueben Amorim now. You talked about the new players. It was the first time we start this game with our full 200 million brand spanking new strike force. In Mbumo, going back to his old stomping ground, Brentford. Matheus Cunha, back from injury, ready to go. And Benjamin Šeško. All of them started this game. They're big signings. And, yeah, you were happy about these signings in the summer, right?
2 of the 3 I was. Cunha, absolutely. Anytime I saw him for Wolves, or even just on highlights on like Match of the Day and stuff like that, I always thought he looked quite impressive, quite tricky, and it was exciting to get him at the start of the window and get off to a good start in the window. And actually, I do really like him even for us. I think he offers quite a lot. Mbumo's been, for my money, our best player this season so far. It's not really saying much, but I do think he has. And I was really excited for him as well. The only one I was a bit uncertain of was Šeško, but it's just purely because when I'd seen him for Leipzig, whether it was against Celtic or playing internationally for Slovenia, I just wasn't that impressed, and I did think that we needed somebody with a bit more experience rather than another young striker. But again, happy to give him a chance, and it was good to see in the lineup at least that the 3 of them were going to get a run out. To just see what they could bring and see how we were going to look. But yeah, I mean, it just didn't work on Saturday anyway. It just didn't
there wasn't really any surprises in the lineup. Casemiro was suspended, Ahmad injured, Mazraoui injured. So the lineup was kind of more or less what was expected. I mean, I know we were all still hoping that Amorim might see the light and decide that Bruno Fernandes should not be playing central midfield, that he should be playing further forward, and that Kobbie Mainoo can be starting for Man United, but it does not seem to think that is an option at the moment. Agati comes in for Casemiro. I've tried to defend him a fair bit because I think he had a slow start, but I saw a player in there, but still not moving on for him at the moment. And I think we do miss Casemiro. I think we definitely miss Casemiro. There's been a couple of matches now. He didn't play that City game either, and we absolutely got dominated in that game too. So I think his experience there is a big, big loss. But the lineup was more or less as expected, wasn't it? I mean, I know people are still talking about the goalkeeper. When are we going to see Lemons? But I didn't expect him to be starting this game. Bayinde comes in, and I actually thought he had a game where he saved more shots than I've seen him do before, really. At the same time, he did get a bit of criticism for a couple of goals. I don't know where you're feeling about Bayinde on this game. Are you more criticising for the goals or saying he actually saved us from it being way worse?
I think he did make some moves. I won't deny that. The The first goal, I don't really criticise him at all. I don't think he deserves any criticism there. Even the second goal, I'm kind of loath to give him any stick for that because, okay, it's shovelled back into an area where, the Brentford players advancing onto the ball, but I actually put more criticism towards the defenders there than I do the goalie, because the goalie's just made a save at the near post, and sometimes you need your defenders to help you out a little bit. So I don't really blame him for that one either. The only one that was disappointing, the third one kind of does go down the middle of the goal, but I don't really criticise him for that either because the game's gone by that point. So specifically for the game of Saturday, no, I don't really blame him for anything really, and he did make, in the first half anyway, he made 2 good saves from point blank range. He made another good save in the second half. I try to think who the Brentford player was, but they pinged a shot to the far post. He gets down well and pushes it away this time, right out of danger. So I thought he actually played all right on Saturday. I was the same as you. I didn't expect Lemons to play at all. I just, the way that Bayern has played against specifically Chelsea and other teams, I don't think he's actually made a lot of mistakes. So I didn't really expect him to just be dropped for the new goalie. But I do think we're maybe approaching a point where we think, no, if he's not starting against, say, Sunderland at the weekend, I would wonder when he's going to start to get put in, because the only thing I will say about Bayern is he played alright at the weekend, he's done okay, but it's clear he's not a number one.
Yeah, I think people are waiting to see when Lemons might get a chance. Us getting knocked out of the League Cup, not having any European games, makes it kind of difficult to work out when you want to rotate in a goalie. And I think maybe he's waiting for some performance where Bayern really messes up badly to give him his chance. I don't personally think this is the one. I do see Bayern though getting flack around on social media and WhatsApps and whatever. So some people think that he was to blame for at least one, if not 2 of these goals. But I'm more with you, really. I mean, Harry Maguire is very slow to push up and gets done on the offsides for the first goal. I think it probably is a foul on Cunha where this whole goal starts, but still not really any excuse. One long ball straight in behind us, and you're like seeing Harry Maguire chasing shadows, basically. And he's at this age, he was never the fastest. Now it's even more of a problem. It just reminds me of the goal we had against Haaland in front of him just a couple of weeks ago. That's my biggest problem always when we see that lately. It's like the same mistakes over and over again. That day as well, it was a bad ball that day from Luke Shaw, but then suddenly our defence is way too high up and Haaland's just got a run in from no problem whatsoever, like 5 yards on Maguire that day, and this time it was similar. I mean, they're putting it down as a brilliant finish. I think he slightly spoons this finish and it goes into the top corner, but anyway, it goes in and you were already 1 down straight away at the start of this game. And within too long, we're 2 down, aren't we? And it's again a long ball. We're just undone early on in this game by 2 long balls. I mean, it should be like basic, simple stuff. And we've got good headers of the ball. Maguire, De Ligt, both should be. But on the second one, De Ligt, I don't know what happens to him. He just completely loses the flight of that ball and gets done on it. And then, within like 30 seconds after that, it's in the back of our net.
Yeah, what worried me on Saturday, I said as much in our Discord chat and afterwards in our own WhatsApp chat. What worried me on Saturday was that was the tactic from Brentford literally from the off. So before even the first goal, there was 3 occasions where either Jordan Henderson or is it Damsgaard, the other guy in midfield, or one of the other players from the defence, as soon as they turned over the ball, whether it was near their box or close at the halfway line in their half, the immediate tactic was put it long. Because the line had pushed so high, whether it was Maguire or Shaw or De Ligt or the wing-backs, the line was so high that there was so much space, so every single time the Brentford pass in behind was there every single time, and they tried it, as I said, 3 times before the first goal, and we got away with it, where either Maguire's got a flick on that's went back to the goalie, or we've managed to tidy it up. So the fact that it had happened multiple times before the first goal, then the first goal happens, and it is shocking. It's really poor defending, and I agree with you. I think the striker mishits it. I think he's just trying to put his foot through the ball. He mishits it and it flies in off the stanchion. Happens. But the second goal, yeah, I mean, I think Delict's been really good for us this season, and probably is the only other one, along with Mbeumo, I can say every other game this season. No, I think he's been at least fine, if not very good. And I don't know what happened to him there. I don't know if he just got turned around because he was too busy tracking the striker rather than looking at the flight of the ball. But it was poor from him. The ball drops, and normally you would expect him just to clean it up and just either head it out wide to one of our other players for a pass, or at least just head it out for a throw-in or something. But yeah, that was really poor from De Ligt. And then, as you said, it's one long passing again. It's immediately put us under pressure. They've got on the front foot from tidying the ball up and driving to the byline. And then, as I said, I don't blame the goalie at all, because the goalie's got to cover the near post, and the way the ball comes in, he does stop the ball, but I can see what people are saying when you say, never put it back into that position. But sometimes, as a goalie, you just need to react to what's happening in front of you, which he does do. But it's just so poor from the defenders. When I watch the replay back, even after they lose the first ball, even when the Brentford wide player drives to the line, when the cutback comes across, not one of the defenders is looking at the Brentford attacker who's coming in. Every single United defender is attracted to the ball. They all move across the box towards the ball. They don't actually look to see this Brentford attacker running into the box. So by the time the ball then kind of gets shoveled into the middle of the box, the guy's just there unmarked. And Binder's actually unlucky. He still nearly manages to stop it on the line. But as I said, I don't blame him at all. I think the defending, not just from the long ball, but the defending after that to react to what was happening from the cutback is just so poor. And it covers two things for me. It's not just the fact that we're seeing the same mistakes. That's absolutely true. We see the same mistakes, and it's individual mistakes as well as organisational. But at the same time, it's how many times when we concede a goal, within 5-10 minutes we concede another one. We seem so powder puff in being able to stand up to any real threat, any real pressure, any real aggression. We so often concede, not just one, then the second one very quickly after it.
Yeah, and that's been a problem for a long time that we've talked about on this podcast, that, when one goes in, you just see that nervousness in our defence, and it's like panic stations every time a ball comes into the box. I mean, in between those two goals, Binder makes at least two good saves from like corners and crosses coming in. So, it could have been worse at that point. I mean, we do actually get back into this game. We're like 2-0 down at 20 minutes, 25 minutes is back to 2-1. So you're like, all right, some credit and like game on. And Benjamin Šeško, fair play to him, gets his first goal for us. And that is the kind of goal that sometimes we have been lacking. Your proper number 9 fighting, harrying for the ball in the box. He has 3 bites at it and manages to get it eventually. Should be good for his confidence at least, right?
Yeah, I was glad to see him get off the mark for that, because I was a bit worried about him before the game on Saturday, just because I thought other games that we've seen him play, he's just not been in the game at all. And I don't even think, as I said, I was worried about him when we signed him, but I don't even think the lack of him being in games, I don't think it's much to do with him at all. I think it's to do with how we're set up and how we're trying to play. So I was worried going in to the game on Saturday just off of what we saw. But even from the off, I did actually think he was getting in the game a little bit more. He was flicking the ball on. He had a couple of shots from outside the box as well. He was linking up well, I thought, with Cunha as well. So for him to get off the mark is very good. And it was good striker play anyway. It was he anticipates the ball coming down. The goalie makes a couple of saves, sure, but he just kept going anyway. And then the third one, I just kind of liked it. By the third attempt, he just thought, screw it, and as hard as he could, just put his foot through the ball, which sometimes you just got to do that. So not happy for him to get off the mark. And I actually thought after that, until about half time, I thought we actually played alright. And Brentford didn't really threaten. Yeah, they're 2-1 up, but they didn't really threaten, I didn't think, after that. I thought we were making plenty of chances and we looked the more likely for the second part of the first half at least. And I did think we would get into it a little bit more. But for Šeško himself, no, I'm pleased he managed to get off the mark and hopefully that just calms him down a little bit, and we can see what he can do.
Yeah, it's got to be good for him. At least he's got that goal. I said maybe on the last podcast, the pod before, that so far I don't see that he's any better than Højlund, for example. But at least this kind of fighting for that goal does show he's got that kind of 6-yard box. But he's been better with his back to goal than Højlund as well.
Yeah.
And I think they want him to do a lot of that, back to goal, bring in Cunha, bring in Mbumo, whoever's over there. And of course, he's still getting used to the team. He's still developing. I think it's only his second or third start, basically. So yeah, look, at least he's on the score sheet. And he's still feeding off scraps, so we still aren't getting him enough chances. I mean, for somebody who's absolutely massive and is obviously great with his head, there's not many crosses that we've even managed to get anywhere near him, which is a major issue for me. If you've got a guy like that and you don't seem to be playing to his strengths, then it's a bit strange.
The one thing I will say, though, he's a lot silkier with the ball than Højlund as well. There was a couple of bits where either the balls came long to him through kind of like mid-air, or it came along the deck to him. And there was one bit where he held two defenders off really well, kind of dribbles the ball around about them, and then it's Cunha kind of makes a run inside, and he just kind of does a wee lovely scoop pass through the two defenders for Cunha just to run onto, and he then takes it forward. And then there was another bit, and this time it's Dorgu going up the left side, and again Sesko controls it really well, beats his man, and then just plays a pass in. And that's what I'm alluding to when I'm saying there was things like that he was doing that were really good bits of play, and good bits of forward play, as you said, with your back to goal. Just make sure you control the ball and lay it off, and then get into the secondary movement. And I thought he was actually doing that well on Saturday, certainly in the first half anyway. I thought he was quite good at that. But as you said, yeah, the fact that he is good in the air, he's got good prowess in the air, he's a big, huge guy. And it does frustrate me when I think the amount of times we get the ball wide, and every cutback just seems to be along the floor. There's no real attempt to actually specifically, drive across in or float across in for him to just attack and at least try and put the defenders under pressure. I would like to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, back to goal, he's definitely better than Højlund. He was struggling with that a lot, and I think that's why we eventually moved him on. Mbumo, as you said, and I agree, has been our best player this season. He's going back to Brentford, who've made him this player. I think he struggled. With that occasion of going back to Brentford. He did not have a good game. And it always goes either way when players go back. They either come and smash it, get that goal, or, and then it goes the other way where they kind of struggle with that big thing. And it's often the players who want to prove something who are left out or something who score the goals. Whereas the ones I saw in Mbumo, he got clapped, he got a good reception. And it does often go that when they get that good reception, they don't turn up and they don't show it and they don't go and punish their own team. We can let him off for that one.
See, as much as you say that, though, it's wild that I agree with you. I didn't think he was very good at all on Saturday, and I thought he struggled. But if Nathan Collins doesn't basically just foul him as the last man, he could have played that badly and ends up scoring and makes it 2-2. And that's the type of player I think he is becoming, where we say it about Bruno all the time, and maybe not so much this season because he's having to play deeper, but in the past when we spoke about Bruno, why you don't sub him off, it's because he's always going to make a chance, or he's always going to be right on the edge of influencing the game. And I think Mbumo's becoming that, because as I said, I agree with you, I don't think he was very good on Saturday, and I thought he struggled with the occasion. But again, if Nathan Collins literally just doesn't foul him in the middle of the box and pulls him back, he's basically got a tap in from 6 yards. So after a poor game, could basically score the goal that brings you back into it. And then even if Bruno just smashes the penalty in, that's him won the penalty. So you could still say, yeah, he's affected the game. But I do agree with you. It wasn't his best, but I do think he is becoming the same kind of thing that Bruno's been for a while, where even if he doesn't play that well, I do think he's going to affect the game for us.
Yeah, look, let's take a quick break there and then come back and talk about that absolute pivotal moment in this match. Part 2 of this week's podcast, we are talking about the loss at Brentford. So yeah, look, starts badly, we're 2-1 up, half-time. I actually was a bit disappointed how we played after going back to 2-1. We didn't create that much at all. And the XG timeline kind of shows that as well. Like, after that goal, there's not really anything for either team, really, actually. That first 15 minutes of the second half is kind of slowish. Like, Brentford are happy to hold us at that point and are just trying to keep us at bay. And, in fact, Brentford then end up having the first couple of chances in the second half. But the big one is this decision. Ball comes in. It was actually a really nice move. Probably the best move we made that day. And ends up with Mbeumo in the space, ready to slot this ball in the goal. How on earth it takes the referee and VAR minutes and minutes not to just instantly say, this is a penalty and a red card, I cannot believe. Even then, I thought, they're taking really long over this, but they're still definitely going to send this guy off because it's just so blatantly a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And somehow, VAR, after looking at this again and again and again, decide it's a yellow card. Absolute madness. I can't comprehend it.
No, I couldn't believe it either, to be honest with you. I mean, I could believe it that the referee didn't give it. I could at least understand that. As in, he's maybe wanting it checked just for any other reason that he can't give the red card, so he's gave the yellow. I kind of get that. What I can't understand, as you said, is VAR then looking at it and coming to the decision that they did, which is, no, it's not a red card because he's out of control of the ball. Now, if that's the directive, that's worrying, because if the rationale is he's not in control of the ball, therefore the defender doesn't get sent off, how can he be in control of the ball if the second that he's literally walking onto the ball, the guy's pulled his arm back and pulled him right off balance? Of course he's not in control of the ball because he's been fouled. And second of all, he can't be in control of the ball anyway because the cross is coming in. So of course he's not in control of the ball. He hasn't ran in the box with the ball under his own control. He's running on to a cross coming in. So obviously he's not in control of it for two very clear reasons. But to hide behind that and say, well, actually, yeah, that's the reason we're not sending him off, it's absolutely ridiculous and a complete cop-out to be like, actually, yeah, we're not going to send them off. It's the most obvious red card you could give. And as I said, the referee, I don't really blame as much. I more blame VAR a lot. And the fact that they've even that was the reason they gave after it, was the thing about he wasn't in control. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, because that then just means anytime somebody's running into the box, specifically to attack a cross, a defender can just basically foul them, and it doesn't matter, because they're just going to say, the attacker's not in control of the ball anyway.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy, and the amount of time they took over it as well.
Yeah, that's what put Bruno off, I think, because it was shown against Fulham as well. As soon as he has to stand and think about it and wait and take time, it puts him off, because it's literally happened in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it was several minutes between kind of giving out that yellow card straight away till he actually takes that penalty. I don't know if he does it on purpose, but the Brentford manager maybe does quite a clever play that even after all the VAR decision, he then waits and then he makes a double substitution. So it takes another kind of minute in the middle of that before Bruno can take the penalty. So he's waiting. So I don't know, like I said, if he's done it on purpose.
I think he has, but then I saw another thing that said, according to the rules, it was one of the BBC pages online saying they weren't even sure that should have been allowed, because apparently there's a rule that says if the decision has been made, say, for a penalty, and then VAR's looking at it, apparently you can't just make subs in the middle of a VAR check after the penalty's been awarded. So even that, I was like, obviously you never really know, is that actually true or whatever, but even if it is or it isn't, the Brentford manager's been quite fly, and he's been rewarded for being quite fly. But as I said, I'm not even sure if you're actually allowed to do that.
I mean, if it's not a rule, then it should be, because, with new VAR stuff, maybe they haven't even thought about this. But yeah, it definitely should be, because that extra kind of couple of minutes does make a difference. And we know Bruno has a really good penalty record, and he's already now missed 2 vital penalties this season, which is a killer for us. So you can say this is an absolute vital moment in this game. That it's the difference between us going 2-2. And then, when you miss that penalty, often it gives that extra bit of impetus to the opposition. We had made a couple of subs by then. Mainu is on, Euro is on. And I think that did help us and lead to that chance. But yeah, it's the absolute pivotal moment in this game. And then after that, I don't know, we didn't really create that much, did we? There wasn't anything clear-cut. A couple of half chances, Xerxes, a late header, one or two openings here. But that was the big disappointment for me. There wasn't enough after this, not enough chances created.
No, I know what you mean. If you miss the penalty, that does tend to give the home team that a little bit more impetus and belief that they're going to be able to just see the job over the line. But I also kind of thought at the same time, the penalty miss might just be a bit of a kick up the arse to say, look, yeah, we've missed this, but let's just push on. But as you said, the only other chance off the top of my head I can honestly remember after the penalty miss is the Zirkzee one, and okay, it was half a chance. It wasn't a great chance, and other than that, there was nothing. And I suppose we'll talk about the manager in a bit, but I honestly don't think his subs help at all. I mean, when Euro comes on, and I don't even know what he's done in the first place to be bombed out the starting 11. I can't really explain that. But when he comes on, the commentator made a remark, and I think it was in 49 games, Amorim has subbed one of his centre halves 42 times. Which is, I know we play three at the back, but that's extraordinary to sub your centre backs that many different times. And then there was a thing again then on Match of the Day when they showed you, say the 4 or 5 subs, whatever it was on Saturday, were made. When each of them comes on, they adopt a different position. So one player comes on, like say Mount comes on, for example. He comes on as a 10. Another sub's made after that. He's put into the midfield, like a position, say, between midfield and striker. Then the last set of subs is made, and he's put to left wing back. It must be, I'm not trying to give the players an excuse at all, but it must be confusing as hell to be on the pitch, be subbed on into one position, and then the more subs are coming on, you're then getting parked somewhere else on the pitch just to accommodate the other subs that are coming on. And this isn't just a reaction to Saturday, this has happened all season and last season, where there were subs getting made and just, I don't know, they never ended the game most of the time in the position they were actually put on in the first place.
No, and I made this point on the last podcast. It's not just the changes and the subs that are a bit weird. It's shifting players around mid-match from left to right, that back three. That is a major issue. And, I asked the question a couple of weeks ago, do the players still believe in this system? Do the players still believe in the manager? I don't know. Last week we did see a bit of fight still there. I'm not saying anyone's given up and don't, down tools, any of that nonsense. But it's just, in their own mind, do they say, look, this system, is this going to work for us? And I just say week by week, the evidence and answer is no, it's not going to work. It's not the way forward. And the three at the back defensive structure is the biggest problem for me in the whole system. As I say, going forward, we have seen some improvement. Our XG is still pretty decent. It's the only thing you can point to. But yeah, there's always caveats on that. Like even this week, the XG looks all right on the face of it, but when I looked into the detail of it, then you see that it's a kind of place where XG falls apart again. Because yeah, it's got Brentford at 2.79 and it's got us at 2.24. So you think, we're unlucky not to get a draw out of this game. But actually, Sesko's 3 chances to get that goal are all given separate values and quite high as well, because he's like in the 6-yard box on the XG stat. And that's something that needs to be changed there, because really for me that's all like kind of one chance. Really shouldn't go down as 3 separate chances that are being created by this team. So yeah, that's where it falls down. But now we are talking about the manager. We are talking about Ruben Amorim. You've already said you weren't that confident about him even in the summer. I'd said the same at the end of last season, when he did that chat and he said, "Oh, if the board don't believe in me anymore, I'll leave without compensation." I said on the next podcast, let's let him go. Let him go. The record's absolutely awful. Let's start again. But it didn't go that way. We hoped that he could sort it out this season, but there's no signs of it. No signs of it at all. There's a lot of press now, isn't there, saying that he's got some kind of clause where he can't be got rid of, but that it's going to cost a lot more to fire him before the 1 year mark in his contract. He came in on the 1st of November, so we're about a month off that now. We talked that we've got one more game in this run of 3. It was Chelsea, Brentford, Sunderland this weekend, and then we go into an international break again. I think we said, this is the 3 that should make or break him. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, do you think these reports sound true about the 12-month thing?
Yeah, I think so. So it's kind of fairly reputable outlets I've seen say that to get rid of him, it's going to cost something like 12 million to pay him off before. I can't even remember if it's the 1st of November or a specific date in November, but I do think it was reported, maybe not at the time, but certainly last season The Athletic reported it, and I think it was in the midst of one of these runs that we were on where we weren't playing very well and all the kind of usual stuff, but there was a report saying as much as he'd offered his resignation, as you said, and they decided not to take it, that there was a clause that said if we got rid of him before whatever the respective date was in November, it'll cost 12 million to pay him off. And I'll be honest with you, right, other than that money that would be owed to him, I honestly could not tell you why he's still here, because I've made a note of some stats here which are absolutely insane. So he's averaging a point a game because he's got 34 points in 33 league games between this season and last season. The last time we won a match in the league without scoring a penalty or the opponents being down to 10 men was against Leicester in March, who were relegated. We've won 2 points from the last 8 away games, and our next 4 away games are Liverpool, Forest, Spurs and Palace. We've won 9 Premier League games in 33. We've never won 2 in a row under him, and the last time we even won 2 Premier League games in a month was January. And then we've got Sunderland next at the weekend, and they're already on 11 points. And then I've made a note of, right, who have we actually beat under him? So we beat Everton in his second game, but they then sacked Sean Dyche because he was struggling there then. We then beat City. City were on a run of 1-10, and we had a penalty in that game as well. We then beat Southampton, who were relegated, but it took an Ahmad hat-trick in the last, 15 minutes to beat them. We've beat Fulham via a deflected late winner with Martinez. We then beat Ipswich and Leicester, who were relegated. We've then beat Villa on the last day of last season, but they were down to 10 men and had a disallowed goal. And this season, we've beat Burnley with a last-minute penalty, and we've beat Chelsea, who were down to 10 men after 3 minutes. Every single stat you look at, in my opinion, absolutely nothing justifies the manager keeping his job at all. And the only reason is that I can honestly come up with is because it'll cost them so much money to sack him before, and when they've already paid off Ten Hag last season in X amount of money because it wasn't working and he was owed, I think it was 15 million or something like that. They'll then need to pay off 12 million for Amorim. They've then paid out all the other money for all the different amounts of transfer fees and everything to do with Ashworth last season. I do put stock in the fact that is the only reason he is still there. And Ashwin said something on our on our chat that I kind of agree with as well, which was apparently last week or the week before, Ratcliffe flew out to meet Amorim, and when Amorim was asked about it, he tried to dress it up as if it was like a catch-up and this, that, the other. I honestly don't think it was. I think it was a warning to how things were going, the form, the complete lack of real tangible improvement anywhere. and it's not got any better. And so I think he will be sacked. I don't think it will be before November. I'll be amazed if it's before November, purely off of everything that's been reported. But as I said, every single statistic, every single thing you read to do with form or anything else, or even just what your eyes tell you, this is the worst Man United team I've ever seen in terms of the way they play football and all the rest of it. I cannot see him still being there in 6 weeks' time, but I can see him still being there come the start of November.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out now. As I said, this time last year, Erik ten Hag was in his last days, and yeah, it's like Groundhog Day this season. Rueben Amorim was officially announced on the 1st of November last year. He didn't actually take charge of his first game till the 24th, because if you remember, he'd wanted to stay, do the last Lisbon game, and then there was an international break in the middle as well. So I don't know where his contract officially starts, which date exactly, but yeah, he was announced on the 1st of November, and then I think he came to Old Trafford about a week after that, but then still had a couple of weeks in the middle, international break and all. There could be something in this. I don't know if there is, because at the same time, I know they're saying, they're going to have to pay as much as 12 million if he's got rid of within a year, but they're still going to have to pay something if it's even after that. It's not like they can just sack him for free. They'll have to be paid up something or another. So I don't know how much saving we've got there. But yeah, it is crazy because we even paid 10 million quid to get him released from his contract this time last year. So, a year down the line and say we're going to have to pay another 12 million to get rid of him is mental. And then, there's this whole backroom as well. And it's something that's not talked about that much, actually, is that I do think that a major issue is he brought his entire backroom with him. They are not experienced anywhere apart from Portugal. I don't know if he has the right level of experience and support around him to be helping him these kind of situations. Ruud van Nistelrooy was in place when he arrived, and he said he wanted to stay. Even if I know he didn't have that much experience as a manager in the Premier League, but he of course had a lot of experience as a player in the Premier League at least. But he chose not to keep him. He said he wanted to stay with the team he's worked with for years and years and years. And like I said, they've only worked in Portugal, only worked in the Portugal League. Does he have the right kind of advisors and support around him to make it work over here? I don't know, and I think it's a problem for him. You've given out all those damning stats. The only side of it where I can say the club might be looking at, we do know now that under Ineos, the club have moved to a very data-driven model. I know they've been recruiting a lot of analytics and analysts to be looking at all the numbers. And if you're looking at things like XG, expected goals, we are actually still the second best in the Premier League at the moment on that metric, and the biggest underperformers. We're 5 off it. Our expected goals says we should have scored 12 goals by now. We're only at 7. And expected points says we should be in 5th place. So if they're putting a lot of stock into these kind of metrics and analytics, then maybe that's the thing they're seeing. And people who believe a lot in things like XGs and all these stats will say that over time these things even themselves out, and that at the moment we've been unlucky. At the same time, I did say that for this game specifically, things like the Sesko 3 chances end up adding up and shows you that, you can't put full faith into stuff like XG. And I'm sure they're not just basing it on that. There is obviously loads of other stats they must be looking at, loads of other data all over the pitch that they must be analysing constantly. And it's the only other reason I can think that they're still willing to give him some time. I mean, I do know as well, when you've given a new manager, you've chosen him, you've given him 200 million quid to spend, you want to give him every chance to turn it around. I understand that, and I'm normally the one who says, listen, give this guy time, but I've never seen anything in coming up to 12 months under Ruben Amorim to say that he is a guy that we need patience with, that it is going to come good. The only thing, of course, you can look at is his record in Portugal. And he got us to a Europa League final. They're the only things you can kind of hang on. Apart from that, if you're looking at his Premier League record, then we said it ourselves all summer. He was very, very lucky to be in charge for this season after the abysmal Premier League record we had last season. Unprecedentedly bad, like the worst season ever. And I said at the time as well that, everybody wanted to get rid of Ten Hag, and even me, I said at the time, it's time for him to go. But nothing improved after that. Nothing. And we've only gone backwards, really.
I think the other...
And I mentioned...
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, I agree with everything you're saying there as well, but the other part for me, right, in terms of even just improvement, the XG stuff's fair enough, and I do think, even though we don't create like an abundance of chances, we do make some really good opportunities, but the defendant is just shambolic, because it's obviously not going to continue, right? But it does look like every single time we play, the first decent attempt on target that the opposition have, they score. That is literally.
Well, we said it. That's the
like.
actual. There's a thread about it on Red Cafe. I mentioned it on the last podcast. And yet again, first shot on target and it's in the back
crazy.
of the net.
It's absolutely crazy. But even if they somehow sort that out to stop the first attempt on target being a goal, it's the same things every single time. Whether it's crosses coming into the box from wide, from wingers, set pieces, whether it's deep free kicks getting flung into the box, or just corners just being put right on top of the goalie, or a flick on at the near post to then set somebody up at the far post, or even just a straight cross just to the far post. Long balls in behind the defenders because of the high line, or even if we play a little bit deeper, being cut open so that every single time the opposition attack, there's 3-on-3. It's crazy, and as I said, while they might sort out this mad thing of every time there's a shot on target, as in the first shot on target for the opposition, they score. If they somehow sort that out, I still think there's massive issues with the defending. And as you said, like, whether the three at the back works in the Premier League is irrelevant. It's more about, is it working for us? And the answer absolutely is no. There's no benefit whatsoever, whether it's any supposed benefit being added to winning the midfield battle, which we don't. Any benefit being that we push up high, so that allows us to flood the opposition and then keep them on the back foot, which we don't. And then the final thing of how we actually defend, is it helping us defend? No, clearly not, because we cannot keep a clean sheet. And the other stat was, I think in 30 odd games we've conceded something like 58 goals. Which is insane. That's you averaging on 2 goals a game conceded. So it's whether you want to blame individual defenders or mistakes or whatever. That is a pattern. That is a trend. That no matter what he's doing, we are not improving defensively at all. You can argue what you want going forward, but defensively and in the midfield specifically, it is shocking. It is so bad. It is shocking.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The defensive three at the back system is not working, and as I say myself, I don't know if those defenders believe in it themselves. They're, week in, week out, there's problems with it, and they're players that we know are good defenders. Harry Maguire did have a wobble in his Man United career, but he is a good defender, loads of experience. De Ligt, like you said, is one of our better players this season. Luke Shaw as well, Ed stuck a bit of boot into him last week, and maybe deservedly so, he's been here that long. But yeah, we know as well, he's an experienced defender, he knows what he's doing, but I think they're all struggling with this system, getting shifted around here and there. It's not working, and it's definitely the defence, which is the big problem. It's where he's not sorted us out, even if there has been some improvements in the attack side. And really, if you spend 200 million quid on attackers, there has to be some improvement.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like difficult not to. But yeah, Rueben Amorim is getting worked out by every manager. I mean, Keith Andrews at Brentford, he's a rookie manager. He's never been a manager in his life before. He just took over from Thomas Frank. He was like assistant, and he's still working out how to get around us. Never mind that, the Grimsby manager in League Two, he's working out how to get around this three at the back. That's how easy it is. We're not talking about the greatest minds in the world here, but they're still working out how to set up, how to play, and how to get through Ruben Amorim's three at the back. And everybody knows that's how we're going to play, because he said it himself. This is the system. I ain't changing it. So the whole world knows how we're going to set up and how we're going to play. There's no surprises, and it's clearly not working. Not working at all. We'll take a quick break there, come back for the last part of the show. Back for part 3. So look, we're talking about Amorim. We have to sadly start talking about alternative options. Have you got any favourites, Jamie? I mean, at the moment, the favourite is Oliver Glasner. He is the man of the moment. Palace beat Liverpool. He won the FA Cup. He plays three at the back, and it works. So we can't say it doesn't work in the Premier League. Antonio Conte won the Premier League with Chelsea playing a very similar system. So it's not the system that doesn't work in England. It's just the way Ruben Amorim is doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. As for who you would go for, my brother asked me this the other day when I said about, because he knows I'm fed up with the manager, and he said to me the other day, who would you pick? I kind of just said to him, I'm honestly at the point where I honestly don't care who it is. I just think there needs to be a change, something needs to happen. But if I was to pick anybody, I probably would go Glasner because of things like he plays the same system but a totally different style. If you just watch Palace, they're just they've got good players, yeah, but they're full of energy, non-stop running, great chances, they're exciting to watch, and you only need to look at the results. I think, what is it, they're unbeaten in 20 odd games, I think, now in the Premier League. It's crazy, never mind just the start of the season. They've beat City, they've beat Liverpool, they've beat all the other big teams at some point, and even went toe to toe with then Arsenal and Chelsea and the like as well. And actually, I remember him being in charge of Frankfurt a few years ago, because they played against Rangers in the Europa League final, and while it went to penalties, I couldn't help but be impressed by his Frankfurt team. And I'd watched them play against, I think it was Barcelona in the quarters of the semis that year as well, and basically took it to them and put them out. So it's not just off the Palace stuff. I have kind of seen him play with Frankfurt, and as I said, I've seen him play in that Europa League final against Rangers, and I was impressed. So I wouldn't mind if it was him. I've seen a few shouts for Iraola at Brentford.
Yeah.
Bournemouth rather.
Bournemouth.
I can understand that. To be honest, whoever it is, I just think the next manager needs to have Premier League experience. We need to stop bringing in from outside for a while, because we've tried that, and while it worked for a time with Ten Hag, it's not worked that well in terms of league football. We haven't really done anything in the league for a long time. So whoever it is next, I would quite like to see them have some Premier League experience. But what about you? Who would you go if he gets his marching orders?
Who would I go? I would bring back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
I wouldn't
say
even
that every
mind that
week.
either, though, because you think
I know it's not going to happen, but yeah, that's what I would do. And the other option, actually, I don't think we will go back to Ole, and I do also understand that you don't want to kind of go back to such things. But Michael Carrick is on the list, and I think he's like third favourite at the moment. It's basically, we can't put that much faith in the bookies odds because they don't mean a lot, but Glasner is number one, Southgate is number two, Michael Carrick is number three on the list. He is available. He did all right at Middlesbrough, and for me, that's kind of like bringing back Ole in a way, because he was obviously his assistant at the time, and knows those ways, knows the club inside and out, knows the Premier League. I like that nostalgia. This time last year on this podcast, I was like, should we really be getting rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy? He's done all right. Let's give him a shot. I'm always that guy. Yeah, Ole, Carrick, Ruud, they're the ones for me. We don't want all these outsiders. We want the guys who know the club, the inside out. And as far as I'm concerned, and other people will disagree, the best times that we've had in the post-Alex Ferguson era were under Ole. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. It was the most exciting football. We scored plenty of goals. We were really good at home. We were good away from home. I'm not sure how it would work next time, but at the moment, I'm like, it honestly could not be any worse than somebody who comes in like that, who is a club man, even just to the end of the season. Yeah, I could understand the point behind it. But yeah, for me, I just think it's somebody who needs Premier League experience. Otherwise, I don't know. I just feel we're on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah, we can't go through the whole the guy needs time, it's a different system, he's come from a league. No, we can't do that now. Yeah, we've done it, and the next guy needs to just hit it and say, right, day two, we're back in progress. We want that new manager bounce. And that was the theory of Amorim. It's a different system, it's going to take time. So we said, all right, fine, we'll give him time. But at some point you have to say it's not working. But yeah, we've got Sunderland on the weekend. They're actually on a damn good run of form. They were supposed to be like whipping boys. People thought it's going to be competing with Southampton last year, Derby County way back when for like worst team in the Premier League, but they're not. They're upsetting the form book immediately. So they're definitely not coming with any worries to Old Trafford. I will be at this game, 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Look, you can't expect anything really, can you, at the moment? I know I'm not even going to ask you, are you confident? What do you think? Because I know what the answer is going to be. But we just hope they can do something. That was the other thing. Everybody said, Rueben Amorim, we're not in Europe, we're out of the Cup. He's going to give him time on the training field. Every week he's got a whole week to work with the players. And that was the crazy thing in his post-match. He says, we worked all week on dealing with the long balls. We knew that's what was going to come at us.
That's worrying. So, that is very
That's worrying. He said he's already worked on it all week. Then for me, that means you're out of ideas. You knew what the issues are. You knew what the other team is going to target us on, and they still did it. So means then there's no other ideas. You're out of ideas. Where can we go from here? But look, anyway, we go again. I will be at this match. My mate Lee, who I'm sure will be listening to this, who I'm supposed to go to the match with, and saying, "Are you sure you want to go? Shall we go to this match? Because we're supposed to go to a beer festival later in the day." And he was like, "Should we not just go straight to the beer festival and forget the match?" I was like, "No, look, we're going to Old Trafford. Let's see what happens." So yeah, we will be at that game. We will come back after that. Always the positive way to finish this podcast is to talk about Manchester United women. They beat Liverpool yesterday, 2-0. And I do want to say, actually, I want to mention, on Spotify, we've had some comments from Red Neville, regular listener. He doesn't like our women's team. He doesn't like that we cover the women's team. He says, I like listening to the podcast, but I always forward that bit. But I say, look, this podcast is all things Manchester United. And how can you not love a world where Manchester United are beating Liverpool 2-0. Liverpool in the WSL are bottom of the league, joint bottom of the league on 0 points. They've lost every game this season. We're second in the league, playing Chelsea Friday night this week, who are top. They're on 12 points, we're on 10. So potentially can go top of the WSL. I'm like, how can you not love that world, yeah? You know, when the men are failing, losing every week, we need a bit of positivity. And me personally, anyone who's competing in anything, wearing the Man United badge, if it's the youth, if it's the under-18s, if it's girls, if it's women, I'm going to support them. So yeah, look, Man United women are doing well. They beat Liverpool on the weekend. Second play, big match Friday night at Leeds Sports Village against Chelsea. We have an awful record against Chelsea, sadly. They've won the WSL for years and years. I think we've had like one win against them ever, and it was even in like the FA Cup. I was actually there for that. It was the FA Cup semi-final when we then ended up going to the final and winning it 2 years ago. But otherwise in the league, I don't think we've ever beaten Chelsea in the WSL. But yeah, we're on about as good a form as you can be. Still some worries about the squad. Like, again, we went into this game against Liverpool with only 5 substitutes, which is madness. So yeah, that team needs some investment. And they're going into the first Champions League campaign after Chelsea next week, midweek. They're against Vålerenga. I know Ed's got his ticket for that, to go to the first ever women's proper Champions League game at home. And one game against PSG will be played at Old Trafford as well in the Champions League, the women. Since the men aren't there, they said we'll give the women a shot to play at Old Trafford. So yeah, as I said, if you're a Man United fan, like, I can understand that you might not want to watch every game of Man United women or whatever, but surely you should take at least a passing interest. I know you watch some of the games, don't you?
Yeah, I managed to catch some of it yesterday. I was just a bit busy through the day, but I managed to catch some of it. And to be honest, even just from catching what I did and then seeing the highlights after the game, probably should have won by more than 2, to be honest. I thought they played quite well. It is a worry, the lack of depth, especially, going up against, as you said, Chelsea just seem to be United's nemesis at the moment. We find it tough against them, but even against the likes of Arsenal and City, the squad does seem particularly light. So you are just kind of hoping everybody just stays fit, which is a shame, really. There should be more investment for sure in the team just to help them out a bit. And yeah, I can't help but just be impressed by how they're doing. It's easy to forget they're still a young team in terms of the actual age of the actual team itself. They haven't been around very long, and to be competing like this is very good. You just hope on Friday we can get a good result against Chelsea. But yeah, the record is dire against them. It will be exciting to see them in the Champions League. I'm definitely going to tune in for some of those games and see how they get on. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good story for us, and I agree. I mean, we are the one-stop shop for all things Man United, so obviously we'll cover things like the women's team and the youth team when and where we can. So yeah, I agree with you and everything you said.
Yeah, but on the plus side, if you do listen to us on Spotify, then Spotify now adding chapters and things like that. So yeah, if you really struggle with any part of the show, you can very easily forward through it. But yeah, as I say, I think we should be supporting the women's team, especially when they're doing well. It's the rare bit of positivity around the club when the men are failing so badly. But we can't give any credit to Ineos for how well the women are doing. It's kind of in spite of them, really. As I say, turning up with not a full subs bench in every game this season is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, teams like Chelsea are the big spenders. City, Arsenal are all putting a lot more money into the women's game than we are. But yeah, at least some people are supporting the team. I know against the Arsenal just last weekend, the 0-0 game, it was a record attendance at Leigh Sports Village, even though, yeah, it's a bit of a really difficult ground to get to. And I think in the long term, when we do build a new stadium hall, there should be a better plan for where the women are going to play as well. But at the moment, that is the place. So yeah, Friday night against Chelsea, and then I think next Wednesday, kick off the Champions League against Vålerenga from Norway. We're not given that much chance in the Champions League. We're one of the lowest seeds, but yeah, look, let's see. Just being there is a big step for Man United women, and yeah, we will continue to cover it and at least keep updated in what's going on with the women's team. I think that's it for now, Jamie. Sunderland coming up, like I say, on the weekend. Yeah, women on Friday night, Sunderland for the men on Saturday. So yeah, we'll already know pretty early this weekend how we're feeling, whether United are ruining our weekend or not, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've already covered what I was going to say about the United game. My optimistic take is it'll be a draw. I've caught a little bit of Sunderland from having lived in the North East. I do like to keep an eye on how the teams in the North East are doing, and they've mega impressed me. They've spent a lot of money, but you know what I mean, you can come up, spend a lot of money and still fail, whereas they actually look like they've spent it well. They've got some good players, they've got a lot of physicality and intensity and athleticism, and even Granit Xhaka's in their midfield playing really well. I actually think he probably could have done quite a good job for us, to be honest. But yeah, I do think we'll struggle against them at the weekend, just by virtue of how they play and the type of team that they are. I do think we'll struggle. Unfortunately, I think it'll be a draw.
Casemiro will be back for this. I think he's only on a one-match suspension. Ahmad will also be back. In fact, I think I might have said he was injured earlier, but I think it was actually some kind of family bereavement why he missed the match. Yeah. So yeah, he should be back as well. And of course, he played for Sunderland. He had a brilliant year on loan there, and that was when he came back to us after that. So yeah, I know he still holds that club quite dear to his heart, because I think he posted a picture when they got promoted of him in a Sunderland shirt at the end of last year. So yeah, that'll be him playing against his old kind of club.
Just on Ahmad, actually, just quickly, I think some of the abuse he's got online is a bit over the top. So he posted a photo of him with Garnacho after the Chelsea game, and he's basically ended up getting rid of all of his social media, like deleting all photos and everything off of it, because the reaction from online fans in particular was just particularly over the top. And while you think, yeah, just don't look at social media, just don't read these things, that's not possible in this day and age, especially young lads like him. That is basically part and parcel of being a footballer these days, and he is only a young lad as well. So I just think it's just a bit ridiculous from online fans, and they do just need to be mindful of the fact these are young lads and just cut them a little bit of slack, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if they're young lads. Like, there's absolutely nothing. They were teammates. They can still be friends.
Exactly, yeah.
The fans don't have to like Garnacho, and yeah, we said Garnacho seemed surprised that he got a bad reception at Old Trafford. None of us were that surprised about it, but I don't expect any of our players to then start acting up towards him. They were mates, they were teammates, So yeah, it's absolutely fine for Ahmad to do that. I don't have any issue with what he did whatsoever, and it's sad that he feels he has to then go and delete half his social media or whatever. But yeah, that's the way it is nowadays, sadly. But yeah, we will be back after that Sunderland game. Let's see if we do better, and then we go into the international break already. What a lot of time for the club to think about where they're at with Ruben Amorim. Even if we win it, I don't. It's not even going to change that much for me because it's just Sunderland. Yeah, we should be beating Sunderland even if they are on a decent form at home. And Amorim does at least have a slightly better record at home. He's got awful record away. So yeah, look, let's see. I will be there. We will be back next week to give you the updates and see where we're at. And yeah, good luck to Man United women on Friday night as well. That is all from us for this week. Goodbye from me.
Cheers, troops.
Nice one.